Ancient World is the most ambitious crossover between creative collaborators that has ever been seen in Little Wargame's modding history. And for a game that's been around as long as Little Wargame has, now 6.5 years at this point, that's truly something to behold. But what's even more impressive is that the collaboration has worked and it's finished. Ancient World is a complete mod. It's in fact on version 2.4.0, and there are murmurs in the background of Ancient World 3, a sequel even being made. But what is it? Well, first you have to take the interest that Peka brings to it, the interest in historical accuracy. For Ancient World posits, what if you could have the Britons and the Carthaginians and the Gauls and the people of Germania and the Greeks and the Macedonians and the Mayans and the Chinese and literally other dozens of factions play off against one another? Okay, well, what if there were just carbon copies of each other? Wouldn't that get confusing or difficult to notice? Not to fear. Peka has taken the care of making sure that each of the factions that exist within Ancient War have their own strengths and weaknesses. Each of the tooltips that your starting settler can look at to decide what race do I want to play as, what faction do I want to play as. It explicitly highlights that there are strengths and weaknesses to each of these factions against each other. So Peka has also multiple times updated the map for the purposes of all things, historical accuracy. And look at the names that are involved in here. Armenian cataphracts. One of the patch notes references that hoplites now start with raised spears just because Peka thinks that they should. This is someone who has taken their passion for historical accuracy and for their wanting, their quest to know more about the things that came before what we currently call the modern world into the ancient world and then put it into the editor. But that is only half of what makes Ancient World come alive. The other half of it has to be the amazing collaboration with Invictus. Invictus is this name, this person who is in sprite making and the creative channel constantly, always pumping out sprites. There's literally dozens upon dozens upon dozens of sprites just in the sprite making chat alone under the name Invictus. That's not counting alts. That's not counting if Invictus is on a separate account. That's not counting if Invictus has in fact been longer and has just been giving these things through Reddit unappreciated and unrecognized. A quick count of just the sprites that Invictus has named and shown for themselves to have accomplished in the sprite making section of the creative portion of the Discord alone tops out at 76 unique sprites. This person wants to make sprites for everything. Units on horseback. What about a giant gauntlet that smashes down and causes things to ripple out on a wave? Well, that's what Invictus wants to make too. What about strange, Lovecraftian looking beasts or fire demons? That's also something Invictus wants to make. What about historically accurate hoplites? And of all things, as Peka brings up, Armenian cataphracts. Well, that also is something that Invictus wants to make. This is a person whose creative bent just does not end, but it's more to the visual end, whereas Peka has taken the love of history. The two of these people combined, Peka and Invictus, have made Ancient World into a fully realized full map. Let's talk about the map that you play Ancient World on. Normally, the map would seem nonsensical. There's grass tiles over here, rocks in this direction, a bunch of dying trees over there, and then there's snow, but right over there there's desert. It makes no sense. It looks like something out of the recent Pokemon Sun and Shield, like Sword and Shield games. It doesn't make any sense that this land is over by this land, but then you realize the name of the game, Ancient World, and the fact that your settler gets to start in any one of these spots that they want to. You can decide to be historically accurate yourselves. Maybe you want to bring people into a colder climate if that is where they're from, or if you're playing as the Mayans and the Aztecs, perhaps you do want to start in a lush, maybe on the outskirts between something that was a desert and then something that is actually quite lush and green and vibrant and wonderful. And the map actually, when you think of it that abstractly, it's not just a map that you happen to be playing with these factions on. It truly is the ancient world. And the murmurs behind the scenes that there is going to be and that there is effort wanting to be expended for an Ancient World 3 couldn't possibly make me happier. Because if you want to see dozens of sprites brought in by Invictus, if you want to see some of the glorious screenshots detailing custom buildings and rearranged units, and units that aren't just copy-pasted from one another, Invictus has that available in sprite making, and you can find that in full display in Ancient War. And if you want to see someone who cares deeply about game balance and takes the feedback of people, skilled people as well, on board and deliberately tries to make a really strong foundational mod upon which, no, one faction, two faction, three faction, no, this isn't a Dr. Seuss book. Peka's willing to make literally 20 factions in the ancient world. And so if you love the concept of historically accurate factions, and you want to see that brought to life with vibrant images and great sprite work, there's no better place in Little Wargame to look for the best creative combination between people that's ever been made in ancient world.